Welcome to Off the Wall. On today's show...
we need to import that evangelism program, because if we had that, then people in our community would get saved. Or else we could just love one another.
And later...
It's so easy, if you play football or hockey or some sport, and you see an error, to go, to call the person derogatory terms or think less of them, because you know what should have been done.
Stay tuned. Off the Wall will be right back.
That's the issue. Can you get it from the source? That's what Jesus trained his disciples to do. Hi, welcome to Off the Wall. I'm your host, Mark Brisebois. One of the things I want to explore today is going to enable us to walk in a different kind of humility. One of the biggest errors that's being made by Christians today is presumptuous judgment. And Jesus said, if we judge, we'll be judged in the same manner. So we don't want to judge presumptuously. So I pray that God would impart you a spirit of wisdom today as you listen to this program.
Just think about that. We need to import that evangelism program, because if we had that, then people in our community would get saved. Or else we could just love one another. Right? Or we could just eliminate our flesh. We could just die to our own ambitions. That's the most powerful and will be the most powerful evangelistic program the earth has ever seen. I want to share something just for a minute because, we live in a vacuum sometimes, not separated. We're separated from the whole continuum of spiritual growth, just like families are. And sometimes we don't see how dad outside of the family connects with others and vice versa elsewhere. But one of the principles somebody talked about a few years ago is not only is God raising up fathers in the earth, but God's raising up sons. What does it mean to be a son, a faithful son? You can have faithful fathers, but still not have faithful sons. Right? What does a faithful son look like? And I can't depict all the different areas, but I want to tell you a couple of stories. First of all, let me give you an illustration. You've heard this before, but it's so easy when you're watching from a distance to be a critic, right? You're watching on TV, 3 replays in, right? The quarterback got tackled, Well, it was all open to the left. He should have just ran to the left. We're throwing our colorful adjectives at the quarterback. What a dummy. Right? Because it's just so easy. He should have just ran to the left. Now, if you are a quarterback yourself, you even feel like you have more authority to speak those things because you know how the plays are supposed to run. And you played high school quarterback and you haven't been sacked once this year. And man, if that were me, I would, Except that presumption is not so strong when you're looking at NFL and you play high school quarterback because there's an inherent sense that the caliber of play on the screen is a little bit better than where you're at. Right? You know that there is a difference in levels of talent, speed, strength, size of the players that you're up against. So even though we still do it, that ability to arrogantly boast that if we were in that position, we would do something different, it's checked by the fact that there's natural knowledge that tells us that we don't live in the same world. Right? Well, take that dynamic into the Christian church. And you as a believer are challenged with things every day. Temptation, walking in the Spirit, and not speaking this, and whatever challenges, however you want to qualify them, they're happening. In a prayer meeting, you have to get up and share or speak or whatever, and that's happening for your life, but it's happening on different levels all through the body of Christ. And while in sports, you can tell that this is a whole league, different league than what I play, in the church, in the affairs of the kingdom, the leagues are not evident. Hello? The leagues are not evident. And so the potential for that arrogant presumption is much higher. It's way easier for you to say, oh, no, sit back in your armchair chair quarterback and think, well, the worship team right at that point, they should have done this and they should have done that. And that when that person sang out, that was really not in the Spirit. That was in the Spirit. This was not in the Spirit. And we sit back and we calibrate and we evaluate. We think, if I were running this place, I would not let that person stand there, and I would not let that person sing, and I would forgetting not only the fact that you know not what you speak of, but you're not a father. And sometimes you speak as a teenager when dad is trying to, teach the one carpentry skill, and like, he can't even hit a nail in, Dad. A part of this journey as a father is actually releasing others, because we're training a family, a whole body of people. It's not about who can do it the best, and let's put our best foot forward and hide of all of our defects. No, we're walking together. But more importantly, things that are being done by those that are ahead of you in the Spirit are being done on an entirely different level. And God may be speaking to you right now about expunging the ambition from your heart, and to not being boastful and not being, something. And you're thinking, God is doing this deep work in me. And of course, as soon as God is doing something in your heart, you want to paint everybody else with that, right? Think, I don't want to get tackled. And as soon as somebody else gets tackled, that's the evidence that I'm better than them, because I don't see leagues. Well, I was at a meeting a couple of years ago, and somebody you guys really love, some guys is you consider an international leader, okay? They were in this meeting with me. I was speaking, and we went to the speaker's lounge, and we're talking. And I love this guy. He's great. And anyway, I felt something is kind of in the room, this ambition. It was like witchcraft and ambition. I was saying, I hate this feeling. What is that? Suddenly, my friend gets caught up in it. Anyway, he starts saying things I never heard him say before, kind of, almost, not literally, but almost saying how great he is in his ministry. And I'm thinking, buddy. And then all of a sudden he's talking, and then I could see the awakening in his eye. He sees he's caught up in this thing. And he begins to try to get out of saying what he was saying. He kind of, never mind. And afterwards we're talking. He says, yeah, man. He said, I usually don't ever get caught up in that stuff. What was that? I remember hearing the testimony of another friend of mine who was speaking at a conference, and he went into the conference, and suddenly he began telling about angelic visitations that the Lord had given him, and so on and so forth. And after the service, the Lord said to him, he said, I never told you to tell anybody about those angelic visitations. And he suddenly realized what had happened. Others of the speakers were all talking about their angelic visitations and kind of that, whoa, I'm just as special as them. And he got caught up in that thing of, I have significance also. And it's very easy for you sitting by in the bleachers. I was driving with 3 or 4 guys, and they were bragging about themselves, and I decided not to brag about myself. And God's doing this thing where I'm humbling myself, and I'm content to not, put my name forward. But I saw you at that conference. You went into something. I think I'm better than you, because I don't get caught up in this anymore like I used to. But you're still getting caught up. Different leagues, man. Different leagues. The world in which you live, where there's circumstances that are tugging on the ambition that's in your heart, is not near what people face who walk on a global level. And it's tremendously arrogant for us to sit back and judge another who lives in a world we don't understand. It's tremendously arrogant for us to sit in a congregation and decide that we know how that service should have gone. They should have done this and they should have done that. We were just about to break through to a higher level. If only that person, when they sang, they squelched the Spirit. You could sit from a distance and evaluate and turn it over, but when you're at the helm, suddenly things are not clear like you think they are. And if you're seeing anything, it's for instruction for the future, when one day you might be at the helm of something. And God forbid that you'll have people behind you just nipping at your heels, waiting to see weakness in you. Oh, he didn't hit the high level. Okay, out of here. I'm in now. Faithful sons. Noah had 3 sons. And he entered in an atmosphere, and I can't explain it all, but something changed. Something changed in the physiology of creation after the flood. And Noah drank, and he got drunk. I don't think that was his habit, but he stumbled in that moment. And one of his sons came in and exposed his nakedness and mocked him. And the other 2 sons came in with a shawl or blanket and walked backwards, covering their father.
Hey viewers, be sure to visit our newly designed website at www.watchman.ca. There are many tools the Watchman.ca provides. Sign up for the Watchman Chronicle. The Chronicle is a monthly publication designed to encourage and exhort you to pursue an even deeper faith. Written by Pastor Mark Brisebois. Make sure you join us on Facebook. Simply follow the link at the top of the page and like us. Hey, if you're a Twitter user, follow us on Twitter at WatchOnTheWall. Pastor Mark releases daily insight as well as notifications when a new video or teaching has been released.
And I want to invite you to make use of the resources that are available on the website and through the ministry. Whether it's the television program Off the Wall that's available on the website, or books or CDs, whatever it is, we want to help you fully embrace your humanity, but also embrace the divine nature that God has given you as He's calling you to resemble Jesus Christ, His Son.
Visit www.watchman.ca.
There's something coming. A mature expression of a people who make room for others. I want this blindness, this thing, it doesn't have to be there. But when God is putting His finger out, think about it. Are you the grandparent? Are you the great-grandparent? Are you the father? Are you the mother? Are you the sibling that's resenting and competing and eager for your place? Like, where are you? Do you love? And if I don't think I'm a grandparent. Well, if you are a son, are you being a good son? Are you covering? Or is this like one of those corporate ladders where you're the assistant to the vice president and you're just waiting for the vice president to make a mistake? You're just withholding a little bit of your discernment here and there at precise moments in the hopes that he'll look bad so that you can get promoted into that place. See, promotion doesn't come from anywhere except above. And if that's your play, you will not get promoted. I prophesy that demotion is your future. Now, I know some of these things because I've walked through it. I've been a bad son. I've been a good son. I've been a fledgling leader. I've been an infant. I'm trying to be a father. One of the things I keep telling my teenage children is, I may not be doing everything right, but I guarantee you, if you were in my place right now, you would be doing far worse. We are on a journey. Consistent wisdom is not so easily to be had. You don't know the realm that we operate in. And the truth is this, God will show you. God will show you the easy way or the long way. The easy way or the long way. Do you love your brothers? Do you love your sisters? One of the things that God gave to Solomon when he gave him wisdom, you can read it, 1 Kings, it says that God gave him largeness of heart. Largeness of heart. Do you have a large heart? See, some of us are so limited in this area of our life. We can only love a handful of people, and they have to look a certain way and be a certain way. We can only love other people's kids if they measure up to this standard. If not, it's resentment, a little bit of... Do you feel some of those things? I don't care where the resentments come. They're a manifestation of your heart, not the imperfection of others. God, give us largeness of heart. That even when we fail, even when we stumble, we'll go again. We'll repent and we'll commit to walking. This is a journey. There's an atmosphere that's created that the world will feel when they come in this room, and there's no more judgments. They won't just feel it when they come in, they'll be drawn from afar. The absence of religious judgments. Never mind religious judgments, just judgments. That you have to be this and you have to be that, and I will hold you at arm's length until you're like this or like this or like this or like this. They feel that. They may not be able to articulate it. We might be able to put up a post that says, we are friendly. We are the friendliest. Come and see us. But then they come in and they feel that. Do they feel? Now, some will always reject the light. You're always going to get that. But I believe there's a great number of people that aren't coming in the threshold of these doors because we can't even love those that are with us right now. And I guarantee you the ones that are going to come in those doors are going to be less refined than the ones sitting next to you right now. Hello? Oh, I love the lost. You do not. You love the refined. And your intolerance of your brother and sister is the evidence that you will not love the lost, so God has not given them to you. We have seen the enemy, and the enemy is us. God, change our hearts, Lord. Change our hearts. Make true sons, daughters, fathers, mothers, grandfathers out of us, Lord. Make us ones who can bear the deficiencies of others, Lord, and continue to love and not change our disposition, not change our focus, Lord, to keep extending a heart, an open hand, an open door. God, make us truly a loving people.
Hi there, my name is Kim Wheeler. I'm the president and founder of Fe Viva World Missions. We're a mission organization, many parts of the world, primarily Central America. But I want to talk to you a little bit about our relationship with Mark Brisebois and Watchmen on the Wall. Mark and I travel extensively all over the world for missions, in particular, helping the poor, the widow, the orphan. It's a wonderful thing when you can see the Great Commission in action. And Mark Brisebois with Watchmen on the Wall, I believe he's really fulfilling the Great Commission. When he comes out with us, he doesn't expect a salary, he doesn't expect honorariums to cover his way. He largely pays it for himself. And I fully recommend, support for Mark when he travels. So if the Lord's speaking in your heart or moving in your heart in any way towards missions and giving to missions or helping, I encourage you to support this ministry, to support Mark in going out and providing, because in so doing, you yourself are fulfilling the Great Commission.
Welcome to Off the Wall. I'm David Noble, and we're here with Pastor Mark Brisebois. Now, Pastor Mark, one of the biggest problems in the church today is a lack of unity. What are some of the dynamics, some of the reasons why we've got this lack of unity? Why are people always...
Well, we can go so many different directions with that. What immediately, of course, comes to mind as an outset framework, but there is a lack of vision, clear vision. We don't see. It's kind of like this. When I was a kid, I remember I was being babysat, and the babysitter, before my mom went out, had told my mom that she was tired, and she said, Mark, you're going to have to go to bed early tonight. And it was a weekend, of course, all week long, waiting for the weekend so you could step, an hour later. And he said, because so and so, your babysitter is tired. And I'm thinking, she's tired. Why do I have to go to bed early if she's tired? And I was really mad. And I remember going to bed early, and me and my brothers were sitting there saying, I'm going to be so mad if she stays up till 10 o'clock, because then she lied. She wasn't tired.
Right.
And of course, the whole idea is I don't see how hard it is to take care of 3 kids under the age of 10.
Because you've never done it.
Because I've never done it. And so, I don't see myself as a burden. I don't see myself as difficult at all. So I'm judging her sense of tiredness and her world by the world that I live in.
Yeah.
Well, I have no perspective. I have no capacity to really assess what she's walking in. And so anyway, any judgments I make is out of complete sheer ignorance. Okay. And this is the reality, is that we are always looking through a glass darkly, some more dark than others.
Yeah.
And so our tendency is to create associations with others and make ourselves believe that if the scenarios that others are in, that we have gone through, that we immediately think, well, I did that, therefore you should do that, that we are this,
Right.
And we put upon others our worlds, and don't have the capacity to interject into their worlds. I've seen this done a lot around spiritual leaders. I remember years ago when I was a young Christian, I began to see people being critical of major leaders. If I were doing that, I would not do this, and I would not do this, and I would not do that. And even sometimes when leaders fall, and think, well, I'm better because I've never done that.
Yeah. I mean, you see the same thing in sports. You're sitting there watching, how come he didn't do that? Yeah.
And that's the example that I like to go to all the time, right? Is that it's so easy if you play football or hockey or some sport and you see an error to go, to call the person derogatory terms or think less of them because you know what should have been done.
Yeah.
But the difference is that they're doing it at a caliber, at a speed, with the size of an opponent and the strength of an opponent is far beyond your imagination.
Yeah, right.
And now, at least in sports and in that world, you see that there is a separation. There are so many degrees of separation between where I live and where they live.
Right.
When it comes to the spiritual world, we do not see that. We do not see the weight that's being carried by our spiritual leaders. We do not see the spiritual warfare that global ministries are up against, national leaders that are facing principalities and powers on a level that we can't possibly comprehend. And it's just very, not only ungracious, not only arrogant.
Yeah, I mean, it's unrealistic. It's completely...
Yeah. And the truth is, we need
judgment.
We need to be covering our leaders. We need to be covering our political leaders.
Appreciating them, blessing them.
Our governors, our MPs, our MLAs, our prime ministers, our presidents, whatever structure there is, both in the natural and in the spiritual, we need to be covering these people because they're involved in something that's far beyond this. If you think you have an answer and you've listened to a 5-minute news clip or news story on this issue, and you're criticizing the determinations, judgments, or processes that others walk through, believe me, it's never as simple as it appears from the armchair that you live in.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's.
Yeah. Well, so how does this relate into the whole unity thing then? I mean, how can we bring that around as we start to love more? I guess it comes down to love. Love our leaders. Forgive them, give them lots of grace.
Well, I decided at a young age that I was not going to hold anything I thought I was able to do. I would not hold that expectation over somebody else because I don't know what they're dealing with.
Right.
And that's been hard to do. There are times when you fall into judgments and criticisms, but we just got to give mercy, give grace, and choose, and realize that
Excellent.
it's our love that will win the world when push comes to shove.
Anyway. Let's remember to love and forgive our leaders even when they make mistakes. This is Off the Wall. We'll be right back.
Throughout history, there have been many leaders that have fallen into corruption. Lusting after their own power and fame, they manipulate, enslave, and terrorize people to bring glory only to themselves. God intended there to be true leaders, submitting to His will rather than their own. A new book from Pastor Mark Brisebois of Watchmen on the Wall Ministries, 5 Smooth Stones, shares keys and insights into the life of King David.
If you want to be the kind of leader that David was, begin with allowing God to deal with your heart. It's the fears, the insecurities, the ambitions that are hidden in the heart of man that destroy so many churches, so many organizations, so many leaders.
David picked up 5 smooth stones before meeting with Goliath. Countless teachings amplify the drama of that fateful day, yet it's not necessarily his greatest accomplishment. While it stands out clearly among the host of significant conquests, one victory does not a dynasty create. David lived a life filled with wisdom as well as acts of courage.
David is a man who is revered to this day. He led Israel into the golden age. His fear of God, his love of good character, his love of the things that matter to God made that possible. In the same way, the kingdom of God is being brought into the earth today by people who love the ways of God.
To order a copy of 5 Smooth Stones, email us at info@watchman.ca or call 780-962-5699.
Well, thanks for being with us again this week here on Off the Wall. I would encourage you to pray for us. Join with us. Add your faith to what we're doing. We need intercessors. We need people who are helping propel us into the nations as we're going forward. We're believing not only for revival, but we're believing for a different kind of believer to emerge in our day that you can be part of. So bless you. Remember that the foolishness of God is greater than the wisdom of men. We'll see you next week.